It's time to stop laughing at Nikon as a company who makes a high quality video cameras. Why? Because they just released a new camera, Nikon ZR, together with a Red company, and what I think is that this is probably the best small camera on the market, and it is a true Sony FX3 killer. I had the chance to grab this camera in my hands for a few hours just after it was released, and in this video I will tell you everything I learned about it, and you will learn why I believe this is one of the best choices for modern video makers. When I heard about this camera for the first time, I was completely shocked, but it offers so much in such a small body and really reasonable price. So to put it simple, it has a full frame camera, 6K 60p, 4K 120p. It is stabilized at the same level as Nikon Z6 Mark III, so up to 7.5 EV. Plus, additionally, it has autofocus at the same or even better level than Z6 Mark III. It also offers 4-inch display, 1000 nit bright, and it also can record audio 32-bit float internally by mini jack or the special microphone connected without any cable. And of course it has a red codecs, red color science, and a red RAW, a special codec, 12-bit codec that you can connect, that you can record internally. And additionally, ProRes RAW and some other codecs that you can find in all the Nikon cameras. And all of that for only $2,000 or euros. That's an amazing price. I had this camera in my hands at a special Nikon event in Poland that I was invited. Nobody paid me for this review, nobody even paid me to go there. So this is totally independent material, and I will share with you all my thoughts I learned about this camera from people from Nikon, but also from my hands-on. This wasn't unfortunately a fully production sample, so I couldn't record any video with it. I couldn't put in my memory card. However, I really learned a lot about this camera, and let me share this like a first hands-on video with you. So we'll start with the hardware, or rather like the general idea of construction of this camera, and then I will talk more about what's inside, what kind of video options do you have there. And we will also talk about the comparison to Sony FX3. This camera is really small, it's really lightweight, it weighs 630 grams only, and together with this new brilliant lens 28-135, if I remember well, this set was really not so heavy. I was able to hold it with one hand, and I felt like it's even more lightweight than Canon 2870 f2 alone. And to be honest, not much more expensive than this lens. This body is small, it's minimalistic, and it has two main problems that I can see from the beginning. The first one is a small grip, but that's maybe not a huge problem. You can add on some additional grip or some plate, smaller plate into that. The bigger problem I can see is that it has only micro HDMI port, which in most cases is a big problem for many users. However, in that case, I think it's not a huge problem, and I will explain you why in a second. Also, it has only one memory card slot. Actually, technically there is two, but the first one is CF Express memory slot, but the second one is micro SD, which is UHS-1, so it's very slow, as Nikon people told me, and they don't even consider that as a secondary memory slot, because this is mostly for upgrading firmware or maybe uploading some LUTs or other presets. So this is not like a real memory slot. So this can be a disadvantage for some users. However, if you think about Red cameras, they also don't have double slots, right? This camera also doesn't have any built-in fan ventilation. It's only a passive cooling. But Nikon guys tell me that this is like on purpose to make this camera very small and very lightweight, and also avoid the noise that those fans can produce. And I was talking with a guy who was recording using this camera for a few days, recording in a RAW and format, and he told me that this camera never actually overheated. It was warm, very warm. Also the memory card was very hot actually, but it never overheated. I didn't test it myself, but I believe him, and I think that's really possible. So those elements, especially micro HDMI, is not really an issue in this camera. Why? Because we need to understand the whole concept of this camera, and this whole concept is that they build a camera that has all the most important elements built in. So this camera is ready to use at a quite professional level from the scratch, from the beginning. You don't need to buy additional microphone, you don't need additional cage, you don't need additional screen to work in a high quality environment and have a really nice quality videos, of course, to a certain level. If you want to go higher than that, of course, you can add all those elements. And I was also presented some setup with additional everything, basically, like a full cinema camera. But that's not the main goal of this camera. The main goal of this camera is to make it small, make it simple, make it lightweight, but with a highest possible image quality. So let me now dive into this philosophy. So the main part of Nikon ZR body is of course the huge screen. It has a 4-inch 1000 nit, more than 3 million dots, and it's super great quality. It's not so much smaller than external monitors, which are typically 5-inch. It's big enough so that you don't need to add on those additional displays or some other screens. It also has a nice menu that you can turn on by clicking one of those little buttons at the back side. Additionally, you have also a new hot shoe mount, which is like digital, like you have in the Sony cameras or even the new Canon cameras, which means that they added some additional pins there. And you can connect some special new microphone from Nikon and eventually also some other companies that hopefully will produce that. And then you don't need any mini jack cable to transmit audio. And what is super important, this camera can record 32-bit audio float internally connected with your video using this new microphone or any microphone which is able to record in 32-bit and connecting by mini jack. So this means that this is actually like a internal audio recorder quality, which is super great. And I think that this is something that all the new cameras made for video should have. Nikon ZR also has this special zoom function at the shutter release button so that you can zoom in with 3 steps, or if you change it in menu, you can zoom in smoothly if you use a power zoom lens like this 28-135. And I believe that you can also use it for digital crop, which is also a nice functionality. So again, this is a professional kind of way of thinking. At the front, you can find some tally red light. Of course, there is a red frame around the screen when you are recording. 2 dials at the front and the back, joystick, and 3 little dials at the top plate for the most used functions. You can, of course, change the functions that are set up there. And that's a really nice thing. And what's funny about it, if you look at the numbers, it's 3 to 1 from left to right. Not actually 1, 2, 3, which is quite weird, but okay, that's a Japanese company, so that's maybe why. There's no internal fan. However, Nikon claims that this camera is well built and is designed in a way that this heat can be like naturally, passively taken out. And if you open the screen, and they say that if you are charging the camera via USB-C, it can record up to 1 hour 25 minutes. If it's without charging, it's probably around 93 minutes until the battery will be dead. Speaking about the battery, is the same as Nikon Z6 Mark III or the other new cameras, and it can hold a lot of time actually. I didn't check it myself, but the guy who was testing it before the release, he told me that he was working like 1.5 to 2 hours recording and no problem with it. So I can expect it to be a good quality energy management. In the same slot as battery, you will find a memory slot. As I told you, it's CF Express. Theoretically, it's very good because those cards are super fast and you don't have to add any additional SSD hard drive outside to record everything. And again, this setup can be really small. If you want to go even more minimalistic with audio, Nikon offers that because this camera has actually some special new microphones, internal built-in microphones. And Nikon claims that in some cases they can even replace an additional microphone, which I do not believe, but they offer a lot of functions with those microphones. For example, you can choose, is it direction in the front or in the back, or maybe omnidirectional, or some other ideas about audio from this camera, which is quite a nice option for those who, for example, want to record something short or additional, or maybe even recording 32-bit and really have a decent quality. There's also a small button, a record button at the front part of this camera. There's also a little button turn on off at the top dial, and at the back additional one little button to open a preview section, and that's actually all. And there's also one more switch, photo and video. So this means that this camera can also shoot pictures, but well, actually, it doesn't have any mechanical shutter, but it's not a problem. So technically, it's like a Nikon Z6 Mark III when it comes to photography. So let's look at what's inside this camera. This is a full frame, partially stacked sensor, 24 megapixels. Basically, it's the same sensor that you can find in Nikon Z6 Mark III, and probably even the same sensor that you can find in Panasonic Lumix S9 Mark II. And that's a very good information, because this means that if Nikon was able to use the knowledge from RED and have some nice processor and algorithm, this sensor can offer one of the best quality on the market. Nikon itself claims that it offers up to 15 EV dynamic range, and many YouTubers, they claim that it's not, of course, 15, it's less, but still the dynamic range is super high and the quality of the video from this camera is super good. I will check that myself later. The resolution is maximum 6K 60p. It also has 4K 120p, but with crop 1.5. What's the selling point of this camera is that Nikon ZR offers a RED codec for recording in RAW format. It's a RED R3D NE, and you can save a video up to 6K 60p. It also offers ProRes RAW, HQ, N-RAW, and all those normal codecs like H.265, H.264. The only problem I can see here is that 1 minute of content recorded in this RED RAW format, not even in 60p, but in 25p, is around 12 gigabytes of content. So that's really a lot. So if you want to go with this camera for some job to shoot like 1 hour, 1 hour and a half, you need to have 500 gigs, 1 terabyte, just to be able to save all those data. And if you want to record in 60p, this will be even twice more. So I don't really believe that many people will use it so much these days. Also, you need to have very powerful computer to edit this footage. So on the one hand, we have the best possible quality out of the sensor with RED color science and dynamic range. That's great. But on the other hand, it's not exactly true, because it's not the same codec as we have in RED cameras. There they offer is 60-bit. Here it's 12-bit, and even Nikon people, they told me that it's because of the processor they used in this camera. It's a Nikon processor, and it cannot work with 16 bits, so it offers only 12 bits. So I can't imagine YouTubers, content creators using this format for their daily work. I think it's only for those who really need the highest possible quality, working for big clients, and maybe using this camera as a backup camera for their RED cameras, or like maybe additional camera. Nikon told us that red is responsible for color science in that camera. So my question is it only with this new codec, or it's also applied to some other codecs like more useful H.265? That's something that I need to check, but even without that, I believe that the colors from this camera will be really great. There are also lots of additional functions, like you can upload some LUT for preview. You can also use one of the new presets made by Red, especially for this camera. At the beginning you have only one of them, but then you can download additional, I believe 8 or 9 of them, and they are like a presets. They are not exactly LUTs, but they are like presets for your raw content, and then you already see how the final look is at the display. And when you download it to your computer, you open it in a software that is able to handle with Red RAW, and then those specific presets are already there. So it's like a pre-graded material that you can eventually just adjust, or even not adjust, but export to some other codec. So to be honest, when I was thinking about that, this camera is really interesting. However, I think this is not a true Nikon plus Red collaboration. In my opinion, they had to start working on this camera way before they bought Red. So it's basically Nikon Z6 Mark III without mechanical shutter in a different body and with a huge screen. And then I think they just added a Red codec, RAW codec, at the top of all the other parameters, and also they added a Red name on it. And that's it, I think. That's not a truly collaborated Red camera, in my opinion. We'll have to wait for that in the future, and probably they will also present some new exciting cameras that will be truly merged with Red. Still, I think that's a really interesting camera, and well, to be honest, I think that's a much better camera than Sony FX3, which is now very old but still very popular, and it costs twice more. Sony FX3 has maybe more professional body with all those elements that you can mount some additional parts. It has internal fan, internal cooling, active cooling. But it also has dramatically low quality screen. It has a full HDMI. However, I believe that this is a better solution. If I can choose, I prefer to have 4-inch high quality screen and micro HDMI instead of a really small screen and full HDMI. The dual gain ISO in this camera is 800 and 6400, which is even better than Sony, because sometimes in Sony when you use 12,800 is even too much. And you can also switch between those two ISO with just one click in the menu. So I believe this camera will be a really great competitor for Sony FX3 camera, even for Canon or some other cameras, even for Lumix. In that price tag, probably that's now the best camera for its price in this segment. The only issue we can have here probably is the lens choice. It's not as popular mount as Sony, for example, but still you can find some decent or really good lenses in this system. And if not, if you have Sony lenses or Canon lenses, you can also think about buying some additional converters, which will be probably cheap and nice solution, and use your own lenses. So that's all from me. Thank you so much for watching this video. Please let me know below in the comments, what do you think about this new Nikon camera? Do you think it's better than Sony FX3 or not? Leave the thumbs up, subscribe to my channel, as I'm just beginning at YouTube. I'm growing, so I need your support to make more reviews like that. Thank you so much, and see you in the next episodes at my channel.